Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness. Okay, I am so excited. This is my first live stream here on this channel slash space. And I'm super excited because, as you may or may not know, I just came back from a really epic 10-month nomadic journey through Latin America. It was an absolutely life changing experience. And I have so many books. I have more books over here. And I want to do a massive book haul of all the books that I got in Latin America because there's a lot of incredible authors that you might not have heard about. And a lot of these books are books that you can really only find in some niche bookstores. I will do my best to try to find them on places like Amazon and link them below for you guys. However, a lot of these books were very tricky to find, and I'm really grateful that I stumbled across them because they are the type of books that you just have to kind of be in the right place, right time to really discover it. So, I'm really stoked. I went to a ton of different countries. I wasn't able to get books in every single country because obviously it's just a lot of weight. I honestly overdid it because these are the books that I got in Latin America, like the Spanish books. I also got a ton of English books. I literally read the whole ACOTAR series. I got the Game of Thrones series, which I haven't really gotten into, but I did get the books. I have so many other English books. So, yeah, it was basically like a whole suitcase dedicated strictly to books. I'm gonna have to figure out how to maneuver that in the future. I'm just not a Kindle girly. And also, like I said, a lot of these books are um just not necessarily available on Kindle. I will look into that. And if I do find the links, all of the links will be either in the description of this video or over on my Substack, dearmoonlight.substack.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to start off with the books that I got in Argentina, which by far was the richest place for literature that I encountered. I mean, Argentinian literature is some of the best in Latin America. They have incredible fucking writers. And the cool thing that I really, really loved about Argentina is like, art is very important to every single culture. Art is part of different societies around the world. But in Argentina, like the act of writing is something that they take very seriously. And you'll be walking down the streets in Buenos Aires, for example, and you will see books everywhere. Like literally people selling books on the street, in the middle of the fucking freeway, like everywhere you look, there are books and books and books, like just everywhere. I also got super blessed because I happened to be in Buenos Aires at the same time as their biggest book fair. So it's called La Feria de Libros, and I was able to go. It's in this big convention center. It was fucking incredible. So let's get into it, and I will kind of talk a little bit about the books that I discovered. So first off, we have one of my new favorite authors called Teresa Andrueto. She is from Cordoba, Argentina. And I came across this book. I love smelling it. Oh my God, it smells so good. Oh my God, this is probably like the best smelling book I own. And I got it in this really niche bookstore called Mandolina Libros. They are also on Substack. So if you're not familiar with them, go ahead and check them out. But it's a small bookstore. And I came across this book called El Arte de Narrar, which means the art of narrating. So it's all about literally the art of writing and storytelling and why it's important. And as someone who was finally accepting the calling to be a writer and to practice this, to become it, to embody it, to make it part of my career as well. And I have done so, which I'm really excited about. As someone who really was accepting her role as a writer, especially during this time, this book came in the best moment. I'm so glad that out of all the books that they had, that I snagged this one because it has been incredibly transformative. Like I said, it really smells good. which I know shouldn't impact anything, but for me, like, I always have to smell books, even if they're used and old and whatever. Like, I feel like when I smell it, I can get like a hint as to whether I'm gonna like it or not. It's so random. But anyway, this book is absolutely fucking phenomenal. Oh my God, it is so good. It was so good that I decided to email the author and like reach out, just like cold email this woman and be like, yo, this book is freaking awesome. I don't know where you live, but I am from Puerto Rico and I am currently in Argentina. And if you happen to be in Buenos Aires, I would love to invite you to go grab a coffee or something. I'm also a writer. I'm like a baby writer, basically. So if you want to meet up, that would be awesome. And guess what? I ended up meeting her. So we didn't grab coffee, but she ended up telling me that even though she doesn't live in Buenos Aires, she does live in Cordoba. She was going to be in Buenos Aires the next week after I wrote her at this massive book fair, La Feria de Libros, which was in this big convention center. It took place over a few weeks. It was massive. Definitely the biggest book fair I've ever been to. And so, yeah, I got to meet her. I got to meet her and, I got my book signed, of course, and I went ahead and grabbed some other books by the same author. This other one is called Veladuras. This one is more nonfiction. Um, and actually, this one is almost like a compilation of different essays, if you will. This one is a very short, look how tiny, novel by the same author. It's essentially about this woman who is going through this really strange identity crisis, and they don't really tell you what's happening. Like, you don't really figure it out. You just kind of have to follow her story. But essentially, she's having a conversation with what seems to be her therapist and kind of explaining her story in like very blurry fragments. So you really do have to follow along. And really short, really easy to read. I read it in one go. Really amazing book. I truly enjoyed it. She also has a ton of children's books, which are actually really famous. This one is called La Durmiente, which is kind of her take on the Sleeping Beauty story, but it has a different ending and just kind of a different context, but it comes from that story. So it's really, really cool. She has some like really great, I don't know if you guys can see that, really great illustrations inside. And as an adult, I fully enjoyed this. This kind of reminded me of El Principito, The Little Prince, where it's kind of a children's book, but it is also very impactful for adults. So, uh, yeah, kind of same feeling as that book. Next up, I, of course, had to pick up a copy of Jorge Luis Borges. He is, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the best Argentinian writer of all time. This man is a fucking legend. And his essays, his poems, his stories are just, he blows it out of the park, really. This book is called El Hacedor. It's a collection of essays and poems. And he just has so much work that you can just keep buying book after book after book, and just be lost in his world. I can't really describe his style of writing other than just absolutely phenomenal. Um, the thing I like about Argentinian literature is that there's a lot of like mind fuckery elements to a lot of them. So a lot of authors will kind of take you on this journey that kind of like toys with your mind a little bit. And that is what I love about Borges, but that is especially what I love about Cortázar, which is another massive literary genius from Argentina. These two guys are basically like the top dogs in Argentinian literature. And I found out being in Argentina that apparently, when they were both alive and in their peak of writing, there was kind of a division. There were like people who were Team Borges and then Team Cortázar. I think they're both phenomenal. I don't see how someone could pick one over the other. Cortázar, his stories are very very strange indeed. The story that I really enjoyed from this collection, this book is a collection of short stories. I'm gonna look up the name. This book is called Bestiario. The one that I really loved is called Casa Tomada, which translates to the taken house or the house that was taken. And you really don't know what's going on. And when you finish the story, you still kind of don't know what's going on. But it's so fantastic that you just are so happy and satisfied, even though the ending is kind of like a strange open ending. So essentially, it's that story is about these siblings, it's a brother and a sister who are, it seems like older in age, and they live in this house, in the same house that they grew up in. And then all of a sudden, parts of the house start getting taken, but you don't really know what's taking it. Is it like a spirit? Is it like a military force? Is it an actual human being? Is it something greater? Like, what is taking this house? And also why? Those two questions are, follow you throughout the story. Um, and essentially parts of the house get taken, and they have these like really interesting conversations of just like, oh, well, that really sucks. I really loved that part of the house, but now it's taken and we just can't go back. We can never go back to that part of the house. And eventually, I mean, spoiler alert, the entire house gets taken. Taken. And they literally just have to like grab their shit and go. And they just hit the road. And that is the end of the story. But there's a lot of symbolism, and it's really up to a lot of personal interpretation, which I really enjoy. So every person who reads that book can come up with a different meaning for the story. So that's Cortázar. Phenomenal. Really liked him. Moving on to poetry. I got a lot of poetry books. The first one being by the one and only Luis Alberto Spinetta. It's actually upside down. Spinetta is a very important figure in Spanish rock. He is a musical genius, in my honest opinion. I absolutely love Spinetta. He is a poet, a phenomenal guitarist, just an artist through and through and through and through. And if you listen to Latin music, like Latin Spanish rock music, you probably know Gustavo Cerati. Gustavo Cerati was very inspired and influenced by Spinetta, and they ended up becoming best friends later in life. And this man only put out one poetry book because he was more of a musician than like a published writer, but he did put out this poetry book, and I managed to find it. And I was so stoked when I actually came across this book. It's called Guitarra Negra, which means black guitar. Oh my goodness. Dude, I love him. I love this man so much. Ooh, wait, there's a book. Hold on, let me go get something. Okay, I also did get this like teeny tiny mini book that is about El Flaco Spinetta. It's about him. And it's like just a mini biography of his life. It's so good. I was like so intrigued by the size of this little thing, but it's actually really, really great. And in the end of the book, it shows his manifesto. So he wrote a manifesto as an artist that is something that I just want to print and have all over my house whenever I'm feeling stuck and like self doubting when it comes to my art and my work and my life. That manifesto is really incredible. It's in this little book. And so, yeah, and this is his poetry book. I, as part of the things that I absolutely had to do when I was in Argentina. It was a non-negotiable. I had to take flowers to Gustavo Cerati, his like resting area because he's obviously passed. And when I went to go take flowers to him, I brought this poetry book with me because I knew they were so close. Um, Spinetta was a very important figure in his life, and so I just read him some poems, which was a really cool experience. Next up, also a poetry book. This is a really thick one. This woman has become very quickly one of my favorite poets of all time. Her name is Olga Orozco. I discovered her because I was taking some poetry workshops. I took more than one, and um, two big female poets really stood out for me. One of them was Alfonsina Storni, who I also got to visit her gravesite because it was in the same cemetery as Gustavo Cerati. But then another woman was Olga Orozco. This woman's writing is unlike anything I've really ever read before. It is so full of metaphors, but also like tangible descriptions. So there's an element of abstract, and then there's also an element of like realism. And oh my goodness, I wish I could explain. I wish I could translate them. This book was very hard to find. It's very hard to get your hands on it. It was definitely the priciest book, I think, out of all the ones that I got because I did get some used books as well. And I tried to see if I could find it online so that I could just buy it here in the States. But girl, this book is really, really hard to find. Again, I will try to find links for you guys now, see if I can miraculously find one. But this is the type of book that you just really have to kind of be in Argentina and like go on a hunt and find it. So I got my hands on it. It was an incredible investment. Her writing is really something else. It's something to behold. And I'm just greatly inspired by her. So gracias, Olga Orozco. Next up in the Argentinian hall, like I said, most of my books were from Argentina. There's this really tiny book called Cómo decir poesía, How to Speak Poetry, by Leonard Cohen and Pablo Bernasconi. It's just like little tidbits, like hold on. You know, it has illustrations on one side and then like little tidbits about poetry here and there. It's fun. It's really cute and easy to read. In the back, it says, poetry is no es más que información. Poetry is information. It is the constitution of the inner world. Um, do not fear being weak. Do not be ashamed of feeling tired. Um, Being tired kind of looks good on you. Um, Parece que si pudieras, it seems as if you could go on forever. Now come into my arms. You are the image of beauty. So that's like my rough translation of what the back says. But yeah, I don't really know how to describe what's inside this book. But it was fun to read. Another book I got is this autobiography of Agota Christoph. I believe she fled the Soviet Union, and if I'm not mistaken, she moved to France. Essentially, the book, it is in Spanish. um, oh, she's from Hungary. Yeah. She abandoned her country in 1956 when the Soviet tanks landed in Budapest and crushed the revolution. And so essentially, she had to flee in exile. And this book is about her tenacity and her resilience to still write, even though she had to learn a new language and she essentially had to learn how to write and be a great writer in a different language. So it's about all the obstacles that as artists we may come across, and hers were very real, very dramatic. Um, but she did not let the language barrier keep her from writing. So she learned new languages and she just like started writing in these new languages and eventually became a really, really great author because of it. And then the final little things that I got in Argentina were these. I got these at the book fair. They are like guitar chord booklets. I got a Red Hot Chili Pepper one. I got one from Mercedes Sosa. If you don't know who Mercedes Sosa is, you should absolutely look her up. She is um of she plays like indigenous Argentinian music and she's really incredible. And then I got this other one that has like Radiohead and Coldplay and Oasis. And what they look like inside, it's quite simple. It's just a song with the lyrics, and then you have like the guitar chords so you can just play along. So I thought that was really cool. I got 3 of them, and that is it for the books I got in Argentina. Let's move on. Okay, gotta put this back in here. All right, in Colombia, I only got 2 books, and these 2 books are from La Comuna 13. La Comuna 13 is such an inspiring place. It was actually my favorite place that I visited in Medellin. Essentially, it used to be one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in all of Latin America. They had an internal war going on, and they had these things called the invisible barriers. And within those barriers, essentially, there were streets in the neighborhood, and it's a rather small neighborhood, but they had streets that if you crossed that street, which they considered an invisible barrier, they would gun you down. And it was happening with children, with people of all ages. So it was a very violent and very disturbing time in their history. And the story about La Comuna 13 is how they used art and entrepreneurship to absolutely transform that community. And right now, it's one of the most beautiful, colorful, artistic hubs in the entire country. And it's also one of the most visited places in the entire country. It's very safe now, and you can go hang out, you can go buy some art in La Comuna 13. These 2 books are just about the history of it. And essentially, that revolution stemmed from art. If you go to La Comuna 13, you see art everywhere. Like the buildings are full of graffiti. There's people dancing on the street and performing and singing, and authors selling books, like the art is what saved that community and transformed it. And I feel like we can take this story and apply it to so many different social issues that we have in places like Puerto Rico, for example. The concept of using entrepreneurship and creativity and artistry to transform violence into something truly, truly special. It is just a form of alchemy that I can't really explain. You kind of have to be there and feel it. Uh, Really powerful. So I got these 2 books in La Comuna 13. That was Colombia. Then in Guatemala, I didn't really purchase any books, but I did get a gift. I got this book gifted to me by a waiter. This is La Iliada, the Iliad by Homer. And it's a used book. And he wrote me a really beautiful personal note on the inside, which was very romantic and very cute. But yeah, we were just having a conversation about books. He saw that I was writing. And yeah, he decided to gift me this book with a really beautiful, meaningful message on the inside. All right, let's move on to the books from Puerto Rico, which is where I'm from as part of my nomadic journey. I'm based in New York, but I grew up in Puerto Rico and I go back to Puerto Rico a lot. So I did throughout the journey make a few stops back home. And I have just been digesting so much Puerto Rican literature. It's really I'm kind of in this stage of my life where I'm consciously diving back into my roots and my heritage and my history because in Puerto Rico a lot of our history has been concealed and hidden from us, and also we've been taught the wrong side of history. So I've been looking into historians from Puerto Rico and just really opening my eyes to, where we really come from and how much we've evolved. So anyway, oh my goodness. The first book is a book that I stole from my grandparents' house. I actually was digging through their closet and I found this. It's 100 biographies of essentially like really important figures in our history. So we have here Julia de Burgos, Ramón Betances, Luis Muñoz Rivera, Eugenio María de Hostos, José de Diego. And it's essentially just a series of biographies that I've been like looking into little by little. This was published in 1973, which is really cool. These books, um, you can't really put a price tag on this type of book because a lot of them just are no longer being printed. So when I come across books like this, it just really fires me up. Another book that I got is a book that I actually stole from my sister. This is the book that we read. Most Puerto Ricans have read like around middle school. It's called Crónica de una muerte anunciada by Gabriel García Márquez. I hadn't read this since I was like in 8th grade, but I saw that my sister kept her copy for whatever reason, and I was like, "Oh man, I haven't read Marquez in so long. Let me reread this book really quick." And so, yeah, stole this book, read it. It was great. Next up, I found this really epic bookstore in Rio Piedras that sells only used books. And when you go into the bookstore, it kind of reminds me of the Room of Requirements in Harry Potter, where everything is just like really kind of like dusty and stacked on top of each other and like shit is like hard to find. That is what that bookstore is like, but it is an absolute gem for so many incredible pieces of literature because a lot of these books are books that students from Rio Piedras have like donated, students from like the 70s and 80s, and they just donate books or maybe even professors or whoever. Like there's just a bunch of really epic books that you cannot find anywhere else because they're not producing them anymore, somehow find their way into this magical hole in the wall. And you literally just have to dig, girl. You just go over there and you just have to dig and see what you can find. It's really a process, but I did find some really good ones. This one is Mitología y Religión de los Taínos. So this is about Taíno religion. Taíno are the indigenous people of Puerto Rico, La República, like a specific sector of the Caribbean. And what I love about Taínos is, believe it or not, they were actually nomads. So they traveled a lot around the Caribbean. They didn't just stay in one place. So I resonate with them a lot. But this is about specifically their views on spirituality, which is so fucking cool because I do have a lot of Taino ancestry. My grandmother is from Utuado, and Utuado is like one of the most preserved places with Taino culture in the entire island. So, yeah, this book really means a lot. I also got a Taino dictionary. It's like an illustrated dictionary where the illustrations aren't necessarily the best, but it is a dictionary of like different Taino words. And it's so interesting to see the ones that we still use today. So in Puerto Rico, our language is very mixed. The type of Spanish that we talk is very mixed with a lot of African words and a lot of Taino words, and of course, Spanish. And it's kind of all mixed together. And there's so many words that are of Taino origin that we still use and we don't even know it comes from there. Same with a lot of African words. So, yeah, this dictionary has been really cool to just have on hand and just keep it as reference for hopefully for the rest of my life. I also found this like really interesting, like totally scribbled up book about frases boricuas, which are like kind of like refranes. It's like sayings, the different like Puerto Rican sayings that we have. And there's just so many fucking cool ones. Like we use a lot of like refranes and sayings in our day-to-day lives. And it's so freaking cool to like see an entire book filled with them. They remind me of how I talk, but they especially remind me of my grandmother. She's always using so many refranes, and they remind me of my best friend as well. He uses a lot of refranes in his speaking as well. All right, next up. This book, I got it in Casa Norberto. If you are in Puerto Rico, or even if you're not, they have like an online store. But if you are in Puerto Rico and you want to look into Puerto Rican literature, the easiest place to do that is probably Casa Norberto. I think they have 3 locations at this point. I would probably visit the ones in Plaza Las Americas or the one in Santurce. I think they have one in Ponce de Leon. The one in Plaza Las Americas is kind of the easiest one to navigate because the original one in Rio Piedras, again, it's just like a lot of books stacked on top of each other, and you can find what you're looking for, but it's a little bit trickier. This book is Heroínas Puertorriqueñas, Puerto Rican heroines. So it's about these important female figures from 1930 to 1960 of women who were absolutely revolutionary, and a lot of them are not that well known. For example, we do have Lolita Lebron, who is on the cover. She is mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lolita Lebron is amazing. And we have the story of Blanca Canales, Leonides Diaz. There's just so many important women, but there's also names in here that in my own ignorance, I've never heard of. So I had to grab this book, and I got it in Casa Norberto. Also, a really important book that a lot of us have been reading lately is Puerto Rico, Historia de una Nación. It came out, I believe, last year. Let me see. Vamos a ver. Yeah. 2024. So this is basically an all-in-one book about Puerto Rican history. It just gives like a very general overview of it. But because it was published recently, it has a lot of updated notes and references from older like OG Puerto Rican history books. Um it's I like I like the language. I like the way that he presents information. I still haven't finished the whole thing. And the reason why this book really took off, it's interesting. I kind of stumbled upon it on my own. I was just like in that journey. I have so many books to recommend if you want to get into Puerto Rican history and, understand why the things that are happening socially today are the way that they are. So I can do an entire video on that. Um, and I stumbled across this book because I have been on that journey of relearning my own history, the history that was not taught to me on purpose, systematically, and the history that was um, erróneamente enseñado. So, the history the incorrect perspective on history that was taught to me. And I'm just kind of relearning, like unlearning and relearning and seeing things for what they really are. So yeah, that's how I stumbled upon this book. But the reason why it's like really popular right now is because Bad Bunny worked with this author, and this author created a lot of like the slides and a lot of the historical information that Bad Bunny used for his new album. A lot of the visualizers for his new album contain text written by this author. And also for the residency, which was so huge. He did a really important residency in Puerto Rico. It was the first of its kind. And when you went to the residency, um, outside there was this festival, and just so much of the historical data that was shared was actually written by this author. So a lot of people are really enjoying him. Next up, I have Cantares de Puerto Rico. This is a decimario. This is so fucking good. So in Puerto Rico, we have a style of writing music, like música jíbara, música típica, música navideña. The rhythm is called decimario. don't know what the phrase for it is in English, but essentially it's like a specific way of rhyming where you don't just rhyme A, B, A, B, A, B. It is A, B, B, A, C, 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 whatever. I will look it up. I can write this shit down for you guys. I forget how it goes, but there is a specific rhythm as to how you rhyme. Um, yeah, and it's called Decimario. And this one is by Jaime Marcano Montañez. His songs and his poems in here are actually fucking phenomenal. Like they're so good. He's really inspired my own writing and I want to keep diving into this type of writing because um my great grandfather used to write decimarios. My abuelo, like also he used to sing in this type of song. Um and it's just when Puerto Ricans hear this type of song and this type of rhyming rhythm, we resonate with it deeply. It comes very naturally to us. So it's something that I want to explore in my own writing. And then finally, another book that I got in Puerto Rico. I also got this in Casa Norberto. This is a poetry book by Pablo Neruda. He is from Chile. He's not from Puerto Rico, but obviously he's a very important poet in Latin American literature in general. I also have some books that I got previous to this trip. And I have a lot more books, like I said, that I got during this trip that are English. So if you want me to share those, I can. But these are the ones that I got in their respective countries. The other ones that were in English, I feel like I got most of those from Amazon just because I really wanted to get into I really wanted to get into Akatar. And I did. All right, is that it for now? Yay! Okay, that is it. All right. I'm really excited. I'm really happy to share these books with you guys. I have so many different reading list that I would like to make, especially now for fall. There's like so many fall themed books in English and Spanish. It's not just Latino literature, but there's just books in general that I've read that I really want to share with you guys. So this was a really great introduction, having a little book haul of all the books that I picked up during my nomadic journey. I hope you enjoyed this. This was really fun doing a live stream. So I think I'm going to do more of these. And in the future, I am really considering doing workshop style live streams where I teach you certain things. For example, I teach you how I was able to afford being a full-time nomad for 10 freaking months. The steps that I had to take, the very real steps that I had to take in order to have the flexibility to work remote and let it be sustainable. The equipment that I had to take with me in order to do that, because I do live streams on a private academy. So I had to bring gear, I had to bring my camera, I had to bring lighting and stuff like that. So yeah, so there are a lot of workshop style lives that I would like to create for you guys. So if you have any request, please let me know. If you enjoyed this or you just want to support, please go ahead and like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch everybody back here in the next one. Adios.